If I were to have to choose like only one game to play for the rest of my life, I mean, it would be Dungeons and Dragons with my brothers, but this is a pretty good substitute. Now, I've touched on this before, but Everquest really is a battle of attrition. The grind is ever looming, and the satisfaction of hearing that sweet ding noise is a fleeting love. This is the subtle power creep of progression in EQ. Each level offers a slight boost in your hero's power, offering new avenues and options to tackle the content going forward. But as your level increases, so too does the difficulty of grasping that next level. For me, there's something primal and Neanderthalic about seeing a number that belongs to me go up. This is a gamer's basic instinct, and it's addicting. Thankfully, in Everquest, you are not tasked to achieve this dopamine hit alone. You can group, and you should group, unless you are a solo self-found hardcore lunatic, and if that's the case, then you chase your dream, brother. I believe in you. But groups are not always easy to find. Sometimes you are forced to wait or settle for a smaller group such as a duo or a trio rather than the full group experience. This was starting to become the case for me in Unrest. Now, we've already covered most of Unrest's special little soldiers.
I'm a tornado! I'm a tornado!
And it was here at Unrest where I grinded out levels 25 through 27. But I don't want to keep harping on Unrest and the aids you can catch from sitting on the furniture. What I do want to talk about is bag space, and how mine was absolute shit. Until Tev sent me a tell and told me we're going to high pass hold, because he could no longer stand staring at my ugly ass inventory.
Singing low while I pop a bottle off of your chain swinging, clang clang, and it costs a lot. Bitch, I'm always at the guala, yeah, and you are not badass beat. Keep on going till you hit the spot. Whoa, I'm a big bag hunter with the bow. She got a big bed, number drop it low. Mama called me and she happy with the grow. Never ever fall for a party that's a no.
Just pop the Kenny about a million options. So the stock and I stop doing the green and I rock arenas, bringing the beats. I'm bumping that park in the car, pretending I got all the eyes on me. Got a bad baby and she's independent. Too many people older than me that's seeking attention. When they want me about the goofies, man, I should've listened. And the smell of the money, my strangest addiction.
She tit for dick, I let her lit. I had to dip, I'm on for fifth, I'm all rich now. I bought a whip, I paint a paint, it drive itself. The fuck you think? Yeah, I'm rich now. Hey, little mama, yeah, you heard about me. I'ma pop you like a pea, yeah, at a mom.
Anyway, I followed Tev to High Pass where we met Alex, and it was here that we, and by we I mean mostly Tev and Zaz, murdered orcs wholesale, while Alex healed and buffed. Okay, so I'm a big fan of honesty, and in the spirit of that honesty, I have kinda neglected my evocation school of magic.
Move this man!
And by neglect, I mean I rarely ever hit things with my direct damage spells. Like, ever. So, I couldn't even cast my highest level evocation spell. Like, I would fizzle my entire mana bar into oblivion and never freeze a damn thing level of suckdom. So, Tev had me practice on the orcs with a lower level spell to help me get my skill up. This is easy to do, by the way. Not use your lower level spells. I mean, forget to practice an aspect of your hero while you slobber over how you're going to get to the next level. So, word of warning to the new player, keep an eye on your skills and take time to raise them during downtime or when finding a group is proving difficult. Oh yeah, the bags. Well, we killed orcs and I got bags. And I turned this whole debacle into a chapter because it was fun. And that's what gaming's about, guys. Oh no, we're not done with this chapter. I have more to talk about when it comes to being spoiled by your friends in Everquest. You see, Tev is not your normal EQ lunatic. Most Everquest players are some degree of lunatic, in my opinion. And I'm like a 5-year-old listening to the grown-ups talk most of the time. You know, when it comes to Everquest lore, items, locations. Well, basically everything that these nerds talk about in either out of character chat or guild chat. Tev, on the other hand, is the EQ thesaurus and might as well rewrite the fucking wiki. So he knows all the shiny things that will turn a regular Unga Bunga barbarian into a fighting machine of glimmering plate and power. Tev claims to have gotten a good deal on a few shaman items and handed them to me upon logging in the next day. Totemic cloak, leggings, and chest plate. Typically this gear is quested for, and we'll cover that in a little bit, but he just handed them over all. Here, brother, this is for you. Tev. My brother, thank you so much for helping me become not only a better EverQuest player, but your level of generosity and friendship during my time here on Quarm. It's got me speechless, man. Thank you, brother. By the time Tev gifted me the new gear, I was level 29, and I know we skipped some stuff, but those levels were achieved during live streams. And if you are curious on how all of that went down, well, you can either watch the 3-ish hour stream, I think, or just take my word for it that I found a group, we hit things, we sat, and experience was awarded. At level 29 came new spells, so I made a trip to Hallis, and I love this part of progression in EverQuest. The journey home. I know I bring it up every time I have to retrace my steps through the frozen north, but it's become something special to me as a barbarian shaman. To walk across the frozen earth and hear, the howl of the wind, and it just hits different, and I'm not sure that I can holistically explain this fucking feeling, but I love it. Also at this level, I put my first points into alchemy. I have yet to try the skill, but I figured I'd get a point in it while I was home. Okay, so my plan was to head back to Unrest and start, chipping away at that next level. But Tev wasn't done with me. He said we had things to do and to meet him in the Quenos Hills. So I did. This is Haddon, and Haddon here is a traitor to the barbarian people. A scumbag thief who, I'm full of shit. He's a fisherman who's minding his own fucking business when Tev and I descended upon him and sick Jarararer. Tev's cracked out skeleton pet on this poor bastard. Why? Because he has an earring that gives constant water breathing when worn. That's why. There's nothing here to explain, right? Fuck that nerd. I need that earring, baby. To be fair, I never laid a finger on old Haddon. I just summoned bread and water while Tev sent this dude to Sovngarde. Look, no faction hit at all. So yeah, fuck that guy. After Haddon went to Jesus, I decided to log out for the day. Oh, if you are interested in having a fishbone earring of your own, he is here on the map in Quenos Hills. Happy swimming, nerds. The following day, I met up with Carbon, a level 50 wizard who I had met a few days prior. Carbon, like many of the EverQuest community, reached out to thank me for the videos and has offered to teleport me if I ever need to relocate on Norrath. I am so humbled and appreciative for the kindness and generosity the Quarm community has offered me. You guys are the best community in any MMORPG that I have ever played. Seriously, guys, thank you so much for the kind words and the encouragement. Carbon whisked me away to Greater Feydork, and I went back to Unrest in search of level 30. I managed to land in a group with Beasing, a dwarven rogue, also from Former Glory, and alongside some absolute units, hitting level 30 was a breeze. At this point, I was bound in the EC tunnel and decided to gate back, sell my ill-begotten gain, and call it a night. Except Flair, a fellow barbarian, stopped me and told me to meet him by the banker. He then proceeded to give me the totemic helmet and gauntlets and a second runed mithril bracer. All he asked was that when I decided to upgrade my gear, that these items be passed on to another barbarian shaman that was worthy. Flair, brother, first off, thank you for blessing me with your kindness, man. And secondly, you have my word. The next day this happened. All right, so I just logged in, and I'm beside Tin Mule, Big Cheese, and Torgash here, and there was a rubicite mask and belt just sitting on the ground. I'm gonna wear them and hang on to them, but if you guys are seeing this later on, and you want your rubicite stuff back, just send Destin a tell. I won't get rid of my things, that way, if you do want them back. I'm not trying to steal anybody's stuff, but make sure you confirm and trade here, guys, because that can be a big oof. So, but if not, thanks for the stuff. After that, it was back to business as usual. Find groups in Unrest, Fireplace, or Basement. Meet people, make friends, and engage in that good old EQ therapeutic-ass beatery. Everquest is a game that forces group interaction. It wants you to play with others. There are dozens of quests and item drops in the game that require a team to complete effectively. Now, I'm no EQ guru, so I'm sure there are a ton of things that can be done solo by certain classes or by players who are way better at the game than me. But community and grouping, making friends, and enjoying the company of a well-oiled team is probably my favorite aspect of EverQuest. I'm also a big fan of helping out players or groups that are, too low level for me to group with. So during downtimes when finding a group is difficult or there's a waiting list to join a certain group, I would go to where lower level groups were doing their thing and make their leveling experience just a little bit easier with buffs and debuffs to ensure their success. And I love that this is something that the Shaman class is good at. It allows me to work on the narrative that you're listening to now, while I occasionally toss out a heal or rebuff a lower level team. And for me, it feels good to contribute to the success of other players. And I'm glad that this style of kindness is available in EverQuest. Now there are going to be days when your friends aren't online or unable to group up, and you're going to be forced to solo. As a shaman, I am capable of soloing by root riding enemies. This is very simple in concept. I poison and disease dot an enemy, then I root it to the ground and I wait for it to die. Simple, right? Problem is, I suck at it. I had no idea if all of my dots would stick, like, can the enemy have more than one poison spell or disease effect at a time? What spells should I use to complement this style of play? Why do I keep running out of fucking mana? Newbie type stuff. I took this playstyle to South Carolina and I tried it out on the Split Paw Knolls. And yeah, I'm not the best shaman soloist, but I got the job done and I hit level 31 for my efforts. Thankfully, Tevin sent me a tell and told me to pack up my shit and meet him in the EC tunnel, that we had more stuff that needed doing, that my mana was the biggest issue with being able to solo, or keep up with team buffing without always being out of mana, and he had comprised a list of things that would fix this problem. At this point in my shaman's career, I had almost every piece of totemic armor, all but the vambraces and the boots. All of the other pieces had been gifted to me by both Tevin and Flayer, and I wanted to quest for the last two armor pieces. I expressed this to Tev, and he was all about it. To craft these items required Dufrenite, a crafting material that can be purchased at an assortment of vendors, including Hallis, or it can be farmed in a place called Solsix Eye, wherever the hell that is. I had the platinum and a charisma buff, so I went to Hallis to purchase the goods. Now, I forgot to hit record, but it's 160 platinum per green rock. Why the fuck do barbarians live in yurts when they have like this kind of cash being tossed around? So I purchased the 2 rocks that I needed and I met up with Tevin at the EC tunnel, ready to embark on my totemic questing journey. But Tevin said we weren't going to do that shit right now and we were going to go to Guck. He said I needed a bag and a magic rock that dropped from an evil eye wizard monster thingy. I said, yeah, okay. Together, we set out and ran from the tunnel to the dungeon of Guck. To get there, we ran through the tunnel into the northern desert of Ro and towards the oasis of Mar. This desert is sprinkled with a menagerie of critters, from indigenous desert-dwelling animals and insects, cutthroat bandits and dervishes, to powerful undead mummies, and even a sand giant patrols this dusty highway to the eastern entrance towards the city of Freeport. Northern Ro eventually gives way to the oasis of Mar, which is a large desert area that lies in the middle of the desert of Ro. The oasis itself is home to an assortment of crocodiles and wandering madmen. There is also a named giant who patrols the northeast corner of the zone, whose name is Kazel, I think. Sitting at the center of the zone is a tower that resides surrounded by a pool of water. Before we go any further, it's time for...
This tower out here, it doesn't really have a name, but this is the spot where Inaruk himself came down to the material plane and kidnapped the king and queen, the high elf king and queen, and abducted them to the plane of fear. And in doing so, he left behind a bunch of those specters that guard this tower to this day. Yeah, like his pure seething hatred, it just fuels the tower. That's why you see that purple burning flame up there. That's what that is. Pure hatred of the Teardal right there.
Southern row is like northern row, except it's on the bottom.
But the people are retarded.
I honestly don't have much to say about this zone because Tev has Levitate and we hugged a wall all the way to the swamp of Inithul, ancient home to the trolls. And like all swamps, it's a shithole chock full of swampy shithole things, man. This zone is connected to the troll city of Grob and the Firot, which is close to the ogre home of Aguk, and to our destination, the Dungeon of Guk. This is the map of Upper Guk. Yeah, fuck all this, right? It is easy to get lost down here. And by easy, I mean Tevin, who is not a noob to the game, even got turned around. The corridors are tight and the tunnels teem with froglocks, and for most evil races, this is a dangerous place. As a barbarian shaman, the frogs look at me dubiously, but none were aggressive. Tev, on the other hand, is an erudite necromancer, and the frogs would like nothing more than to evacuate his soul from his body. Thankfully, Tev has invisibility, and we were able to navigate the tunnels of Upper Guk with only a few minor incidents. If Tev drew aggro from a frog, he would simply feign death, and I would make him invisible. This allowed us to reach the evil eye thingy that we were looking for without any misfortunes, other than Tev being a little upset about his navigation skills.
I fucking did it, and he's up. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Okay, I'm very fucking proud of myself. Like that, I hate this fucking dungeon.
Language.
The evil eye was no match for Tev and died at warp speed, allowing me to loot both the evil eye bag, which serves as an 8-slot bag that has a 70% weight reduction to any item placed within it, and the mana rock, which is known in Everquest as a clicky. This rock is basically a pimp cannibalized spell, which steals the health of its user in return for mana, allowing me to now have an additional way to transfer life into mana. Badass. From here, Tev led me to the undead side of Guk, or Lower Guk. This place is dangerous, period, and serves as a hunting ground for the level 30 plus hero. We didn't come down here to grind, we were here for one item, the Guise of the Deceiver, which drops off of a Froglock Ghoul assassin who is flanked by 2 Froglock Ghoul knights. They make a pretty scary trio, unless you have a master necromancer with you. Tev spanked a lot of them without even breaking a sweat. Do necromancer undead Lord Lich guys sweat? I don't know. And the mask was mine for the taking. The mask itself is another clicky that allows its owner to take the illusionary form of a dark elf. What I think is awesome is while in this disguise, the NPCs all look at me as if I'm a dark elf, making passage through Nectalos Forest a breeze and maybe even allow me to eventually sneak a peek into Neric at a later date. Who knows? What's even better than all of that is while in the illusion of a dark elf, I have fucking ultra vision, baby, and a permanent way to see in the darker places of the world. Hell yeah, brother. With all of that out of the way, it was time to finish the last 2 pieces of the totemic armor. The only 2 slots I needed, as I said earlier, were the van braces and the boots. So I'm going to try to break this down as best as I can, so just bear with me. These are the items required to make the totemic van braces. A ground Dufresnite, banded sleeves, ghoul carrion, which comes off of a carrion ghoul in the Unrest fireplace, a charger hoof chips, which are centaur chargers and they're located in South Karana. And for the boots, I need the following: Dufresnite that is unmodified, banded boots, terror spines that come off of tentacle terrors either in the Unrest basement or a place known as Najina, and a chief's tongue, an orc chief that is found in Lesser Feydark. Tev and I decided to hit up South Karana first in search of the centaur chargers. We figured that this was going to be the easiest to find and we wanted to hit the ground running. What we didn't know is that centaur chargers are kind of sparse and share a spawn rate with almost every other centaur in the fucking zone, except for the centaur camp where they never spawn. This meant we had to scour South Karana and kill every horseman we saw until a charger spawned, and we weren't alone in the zone. A gnome and an ogre were also in the zone, killing wholesale. To say that we killed a lot of centaurs is the understatement of the month. We killed hundreds of them and spent well over 2 hours murdering the indigenous of South Karana, all for a horseman's hoof particles. Tev even put out a feeler in the out-of-character chat to let the other 2 players know that we were on the hunt for Charger chips. And thank the maker that the community of Quarm is as badass as they are. Zinran, the gnome mage, had been killing centaurs since before Tev and I even arrived, and told us that he had killed a charger and that the chips were ours for the looting. Good looking out, little buddy, and thank you. With the charger hoofs acquired, it was time to head back to the commons. I messaged Carbon, the wizard, and asked if we could catch a ride back towards the EC tunnel. And like an Everquest Gandalf, he arrived precisely when we needed him. Thank you, brother. We decided to head to Najina for the tentacle terror spines instead of going to Unrest. The main reason for this was Tab decided that even though I have Spirit of the Wolf on tap, that I also needed Journeyman's boots. Why? Because we can. And it's awesome. To get to Najina, we needed to pass through Nectalos Forest, newbie zone to the Dark Elves, but now armed with the Dark Elf disguise, passing through the zone was a breeze. The guards left us alone, and we were able to traverse the zone without incident. From there, we entered Lava Storm Mountains. I don't know squat about this zone, but it's got a very Mordor kind of vibe going on, and looks like a real fucking treat to explore if you're into fire and doom and gloom. Najina resides within Lava Storm Mountains, and within awaited us skeletons, tentacle terrors, and dark elf necromancers. Now, we were here for the tentacle terrors and their spines, but we decided to get the J-Boots first and farm for the spines on our way out. Okay, so to get J-Boots, the first thing that you gotta do is make friends with everyone else in the zone doing the same thing. Secondly, you all meet up in the room where the Necro Lady spawns who drops the boots. And finally, you have a Dwarven Cleric pass out a shit ton of alcohol, and you all get trashed and throw a party in her little ritual bathroom. Oh yeah, and you announce that you're doing this in guild chat and have a bunch of guildies barge into Najina Rome style and turn this dank cave of shitters and necro hoodoo into a mead hall. Former glory, you guys are the best. Oh yeah, the NPC who drops the J-Boots, her name is Drelsna, and I have no idea how powerful she is. But I can tell you this, she is no match for 2 level 50 necromancer pets and 12 drunk heroes. Once we sobered up a bit, Tev and I headed out to snag the terror spines on our way out of the dungeon, and we were pretty lucky that we didn't have to wait very long for the drop. With 2 of the items out of the way, it was time to cross the world again to the magician pansy elf side of Norrath, also known as Feyweird. Treeman's a halfling druid hooked us up with a teleport to Butcher Block, and from there it was easy to walk to Unrest. I've spent like 12 levels here, if not more, and I've participated in the death of hundreds of ghouls. I have allowed ghoul carrion to rot on their raggedy corpses multiple times, when I could have already had this step of the quest complete. What I'm saying here is when you're farming in a dungeon and you discover some weird ass lore item on a critter, be sure that you don't need that shit for a class quest before moving on to the next encounter. This is Destin. Destin is an idiot. Don't be like Destin. Unrest itself is usually pretty camped, so it was just easier to do a camp check and ask if the good old folks camp in the fireplace if I could just loot a ghoul carrion once they finished it off. This was probably the easiest step in the quest. The fireplace team was cool with it, and I informed their shaman that he may want to snag up one of these ugly, gross little pieces of like bloody intestines for himself in case he ever wanted to do the totemic quest. I only needed one more item at this point to complete both the boots and the van braces. The Orc Chief's tongue, so I guess it was off to Lesser Feydork. Lesser Feydork is a pretty shitty place, and adjacent to a dungeon of aggro and bullshit known as Mistmoor. I'm not going to get into Mistmoor. We didn't need to run through or near Mistmoor. Just no. Fuck that place. The Orc Chief himself actually spawns in a tiny little camp just off the southern wall of the zone, located here. Future me will show you that on a map. I think it's Area 9? The orcs here are pretty weak, and only the Orc Chief poses any level of threat. He spawns with a Legionnaire and can hit anywhere from 1 to 36. With all that being said, the Orc Chief died as he lived. Like shit. With all of the items in hand, it was time to turn in the bag of weird shit and obtain my remaining 2 armor pieces. Tev had to take off, so the journey to Lake Wraithtier was up to me. And I can't deny just how excited I was during this leg of the journey. Now, there are a few ways to get to the lake. You can cross the Karanas and enter from South Karana, or journey through the Wraith Mountains. I was setting out from the EC tunnel, so I chose to see some new shit and decided to run through the mountains. This is a pretty long run, but just like returning to Hallis for new spells or the War of Attrition that is leveling in Everquest, it felt like a rite of passage, you know? And I want to be honest here, I know that most of this gear was gifted to me. I collected the required items for this leg of the adventure standing beside a level 50 necromancer, and I was in like almost no danger during any phase of these quests. I am also aware that it can be said that I was carried, and yeah, you're right, I was. But here on Quarm, you can make friends. Friends that can help you or even carry you when your character isn't strong enough to handle a quest or a particular enemy on your own. And you will need those friends, especially if you ever plan to stand against the strongest enemies that Everquest has to offer. I suppose this is why I have spent so much time during these videos talking about the community here on Quarm. They are the best community of any I have ever met, on any MMO that I have ever played. So if you're watching this and you're wondering if you too can make friends and get help through quests and adventures here on Quarm, the answer is yes. Unless, you know, you're like an insufferable douchebag, then no. Click off the video and go back to fucking Call of Duty no-scope bullshit. This is Lake Wraithtier, and here on the map are the ogre shamans that deal with the Dufrenite. They are friendly to all shamans as far as I'm aware, and all you need to do is give 1 Dufrenite to the ogre that will alter the gem that is required for your particular piece of totemic armor. Grud here can crush Dufrenite, Trug can powder Dufrenite, and Punga can grind Dufrenite into ground Dufrenite. For the 2 pieces, I only needed 1 of my 2 Dufrenite ground, so Punga here slapped it between her cheeks and bada boom, ground Dufrenite. With that out of the way, I needed to cross the lake to the barbarian village that is located here. Yep, swim time. I don't know if there's a bad shit in the waters of the lake. I just W-keyed my ass across and I was fine. Don't be a bitch. This handsome Chad here is Rin, and all I had to do is hand over the goods for each piece to finish the quest and become the proud owner of a full set of totemic armor. I could not be happier, man. Hell yeah. Let's get some levels. I'm not going to have a narration for this. Like, dude, these guys, I know I said let's get some levels. And I came back to Unrest and I was gonna, you know, I'm looking for a group and was like, oh, I could probably get into like Fireplace or, you know, in the basement. But then I was like, you know, I'll just pass on some of the good fortune, you know, and heal some people, you know, help buff the other groups and stuff like that. I don't need to always get XP, you know, and that's a part of Everquest and the community side of EQ. Socotra, you know, reached out to me while I'm healing his group, and, you know, he's like, you know, the famous Destin. I mean, I don't know about all that, but I am so humbled. He and his friends got back in after 10 years. They're playing on Quarm, and it's absolutely fantastic. I am overwhelmed, man. Thank you guys so much. Everyone who's reached out to me and tell me that they love the videos. I am humbled, guys. Thank you so much. So, as a shaman, your greatest weapon is your mana pool. Yeah, I know. I like to fight shit with my weapon, but it's true. A shaman's greatest power comes from their spells, not their spear of manliness.
Without my rifle, I am useless.
And I wanted to boost my mana as much as I could because I was spending more and more time playing a spellcaster in a group than I was standing beside the fighters. And there were 2 items that I wanted to get my hands on to give me that little bit of extra something, you know, while I was either grouping or root rotting. The first is the Testament of Vanir. This book offers plus 10 to wisdom and an additional plus 10 mana. As a shaman, wisdom is my spellcasting attribute, so this item is a fucking win all around. The quest for the book begins in Quenos from a nerd called Muduru, who can be found in the Crow's Tavern or puking in the pond just outside. But running all the way there to hear the dialogue is a waste of time because one of the items I need for the quest is in High Pass Hold in the hands of Dylan Starshine. He's a corrupt guard and bozo to the local rogues of the area. And to get to High Pass Hold, I needed a teleport because I was back in Greater Face Sissy. Thankfully, my buddy Glacios, you might remember this guy from my time in Crushbone. He's the druid that fell out the fucking window, but he was willing to teleport me to the West Commonlands, and from there, it was just an easy jaunt through the middle of Kithakor Forest at night. Yeah, you heard me right, at night. I was in Discord with Tev during the run. I'm in Kithakor Forest running through the middle of the zone at night.
Oh, dude, oh my god, you're gonna get murdered. If it's actual nighttime, you're gonna die. I promise you, there's level 45 plus undead running around. They see you, they will beat the shit out of you.
Are they spellcasters?
Some of them are. There's all kinds of dangerous shit in the woods.
Everybody keeps telling me how dangerous Kithakor is at night. It's my 30th time.
Trust me, you can wander through there at night. You'll get butt fucked, I promise. It's gonna happen.
And you know what happened? Not a fucking thing. I zoned into High Pass. Now, to be fair, it took me a while to actually find Dylan because he's located in a cave that you have to swim through an underwater alcove to reach. All that was left was to kill him for the book page, right? Easy. Nope. You see, the rogues or smugglers of the area path right past Dylan, and most of them are low level, but some sneaky asshole in the development team decided to place a high-level rogue in the area who looks exactly like the rest of them. And this fucker was a redcon to me, meaning that if I laid a finger on Dylan and he saw that shit, there was no way for me to survive the encounter. So I watched them and I started to just memorize their pathing. I spent time with them to learn their ways and unravel the riddle of the rogues of High Pass. I'm just kidding. I enacted a sacred shaman ritual of summon badass necromancer. And you guessed it, Tev sent that nerd and the high-level smuggler to Jesus in record time. And Dylan's page was mine for the taking. The second page and the actual book are acquired from Muduru and Quenos. To get the book, you give Moody here 2 gold pieces and he will give you the book. Next, and make sure you bring a lot of gold coins with you for this part, because it has to be gold, not platinum, or any equivalent of silver or copper. Anyway, next, you give the Moodster 4 gold pieces as many times as it takes to get a Jester card. Now I don't like to brag, but I got it on the first try, and in no way edited out all the failed attempts. Fine. I'll play the fucking clip. You give him 4 gold, and then he immediately gives me the Jester because he's a Chad like that. Give me the Queen.
Gave you a queen.
Okay, destroy. And then I give him 4 gold, and he gives me the Jester.
Nope.
listen, Mandu, you Moodururu, and then he gives me the Jester. God damn it! And then he gives me the Jester.
Nope.
And then he gives me the Jester.
Yeah, boom.
First try. And just like that, the testament of Vanar is mine, and I am now a learned man. The next item on the mana list is the Paul of Opola. This quest can be a bit of a pain in the ass, or so I'm told. To receive the Paul, I need to accomplish the following. I need to kill then Moltor in the Quenos Aqueducts for the Severed Paw. I need to kill Gynok Moltor in Befallen Dungeon for a Platinum Ring. I need to kill fungus mutants in Upper Guck Dungeon for the gold and copper rings, and possibly the silver ring, or swim to the bottom of a waterhole in Blackburrow for the silver ring. This is quite the honeydew list of bullshit. Okay, so Tev and I started with Vinny in the Quenos Aqueducts. Vin shares a spawn with a gelatinous cube as his placeholder. Vinny is level 24-ish and he can hit pretty hard. There is an option to give him a rat ear pie for the paw, but when you're armed with a level 50 necromancer who's fucking trigger happy, old Vin is going to join the Quarm Invisible all smothered necro hoodoo. So getting the paw was only a matter of time. Once he appeared, Tev ushered his soul to the crossroads, and I took the paw off of his begging-ass corpse. Great, we're murdering the homeless now. I think I may be on, like, a villain arc. Ah well, fucking. Next up were the rings, but I had to log for the day and told Tev I would hit him up later if he was online. So I logged out in the dungeon Befallen. While offline, Tev went to work gathering some of the rings for me, because he's a fucking Chad like that, that's why. And by the time I logged back in, he had gathered all of them but the gold ring. It just so happened that Gynok spawned in Befallen before I knew Tev had already been busy doing God's work. I gave Gynok the old 1-2, and he died behind a locked door. But in true Bethesda style, I was able to loot his body by clicking on his tippy toes that were poking out through the door. And there's some sweet RNG for you. The gold, copper, and platinum ring, and I only had to kill this nerd once. Nice. Tev and I met up later at the tunnel, and he offered me the silver ring and an ebon war spear that fits into my range slot and offers both strength and wisdom. Fucking dude. Thank you, brother. All I had left to do was combine the 4 rings inside the paw, and the paw of Apollo was mine. When Tev and I started this journey, my mana was in the 800s, and now armed with all of these quest goodies and the generosity of the Quarm community, it was over 1,000. I'm without words, guys. You guys spoil me with your kindness and friendship. Thank you all so much for helping me and making my adventures in Norrath just absolutely amazing. Every time I reach this part in the videos, I'm all out of words to say thank you with. I'm awash with gratitude and humbled by the kind words and encouragement that the Everquest community has given me. I can't wait to get back into the game and just enjoy the old world magic that is Everquest on Project Quarm with all of you. I hope that you guys are enjoying the series, and take care of yourself out there, guys. Real life is an MMORPG. Be sure to take care of your main character, and I'll see you guys in episode 5. Goodbye. I also want to throw out a special thank you to my channel members, Oracle of Dawn, Mox Dragon, Sadoon Dines, and Zombie, and Mr. Timothy Goldsmith, who became a member during editing of this video. I appreciate you guys. Membership is only $1 as of yet. There are no real perks for being a member, other than it greatly helps me as a content creator, and I am super grateful for your guys' kindness and generosity. Thank you, guys.